type google.com and hit enter on your browser, and you get a web page like this one. But what really happens between the time of you typing Google, hitting enter, and you getting that web page? Let's understand. So the first thing is, your browser doesn't understand google.com. Your browser doesn't understand what google.com is. So computers only talk to each other using IP addresses. So the first actor that comes into place is DNS. DNS would have to resolve and try to find out where what server does google.com reside. So, and in my case, my browser is Firefox, and your browser could be Safari, it could be Chrome, it doesn't matter. So your browser would first of all have to know where it has to take you to, and then after it figures that out, you don't just teleport or just like shoot directly to Google's server. So what happens is, from your computer or your phone or your tablet, whatever device you're trying to use to connect to google.com, the next protocol that comes into place is TCP/IP, which is the protocol that we are going to have a dedicated video on, so don't worry about it. But basically, the traffic flows obviously through your router, and through your router, it don't worry about HTTP GET, dedicated video on it coming as well. So it flows through your router, and through your router it gets to Google's load balancer. So now, what is a load balancer? So a load balancer is basically a logical device or software that is used to control the traffic that is being trying to go to Google's server. Remember, Google doesn't have just one server. Google has thousands of servers, and you are not the only person trying to get to Google. Every day we have billions of people around the world trying to make connections to Google. So the load balancer decides to serve your traffic depending on where you are trying to get to traffic. Think of it as an orchestrator, or like a police officer who's kind of like directing traffic, or someone controlling traffic at a concert, and firewall is like the security guy who's just making sure that this request valid, and these are not hackers trying to like get into our system and trying to put some malware into our system. So now the load balancer decides what server to route you to based on how it was configured. And after that, your traffic goes to the web server. Now, because I have a web page, that's how the traffic comes back and I get a web page. But let's say I queried something on Google. For example, let's say I asked Google what is cloud, for example, right? So as I get this result that Google gives me, what really happened is it goes to the app server, and then it goes to the database. So I made a database query at this point. And what happened is it goes and get that information of what a server is based on indexing that it does in its backend, and then it sends me back that same information through the same route, and that is how I am able to visualize that information on my screen as such. Same thing happened with the web page. So the request DNS translated, and this was the route of traffic, went here all the way to the back end, retrieved the information, and the information got sent back to me through a web page. In our next class, we are going to cover more detailed concept.